I'm like, okay.
But they decided
Like, I
to
wrote down my people so that I didn't forget anybody. I promise.
500 pounds.
Gonna get on
is a
Trump,
lot.
yeah.
He said you can't fit it in a pickup truck. Yeah.
I watched them on the small one.
That's the main thing, it's a bread bag.
Yes, I know. There's that drawback.
So that's part of the transportation plan. It's hard to know where to.
Yeah, I do too, so
We'll
it's,
stay for the next
I
one.
couldn't throw the trash out the bag when I put it in the bag.
Ray from Pale Blue Dot is going to help us with.
I don't think they want,
I'm gonna watch it later
They make the most
because
sense.
I think a lot of this policy.
But thank you for your comments.
We need to do the.
It doesn't matter
Particularly interesting.
what number it is plastic. They'll take anything.
no, they have,
People are here.
those two things.
Pointed.
I don't know what else you have. There's some company.
Yesterday was over. Yesterday was great.
Carrying 300 pounds that they hadn't picked up yet.
It's a busy day.
So there's 60%.
Yes.
We're on.
But specifically, last year, Carrie said it was
Gary's going to be.
there's some recycling center has a hard time recycling.
He's a neighbor.
I gotta write down what number.
Good evening,
Yeah,
everyone.
it's not.
Welcome to Peterborough Select Board meeting for June 21st, 2022. Boy, summer's almost over already, isn't it? Tonight, I'm Tyler Ward.
Days are getting shorter.
Yeah, already. We have Bill Kennedy at the table, Bill Taylor at the table, Nicole McStay, our town administrator, and Allie Kreutz, our assistant to the town administrator. In the audience, we have Corinne Chronopoulos from the library. Tonight, we'll hear from Corinne and Sue Martin. There's a library project surplus. Tina Kriebel's here to discuss Children in the Arts, always a favorite in town. Dori Drachman will discuss the Peterborough renewable energy planning process. And then we had a draft Cypre presentation petition, but that's going to be skipped over. It's not quite ready yet. And then hopefully we'll vote to appoint some volunteers to some boards and committees. And then we had minutes from June 7th, 2022 to approve. We are streaming live on Ustream via the town's website. We're on Comcast Channel 22 and YouTube. And these meetings are always archived for future viewing. If anybody has a question, please, or comment, raise your hand. I'll call on you and just state your name for the record, even though most of us know each other. That's the spiel. All right, Corinne and Sue. Great news, right?
Do I have to give my name and number? Oh, I'm Sue Martin.
Name, rank, and serial number?
And I'm here on behalf of the 1833 Society to do two things. One, to thank the residents of the town for joining us in this endeavor to create a new library, and to thank specifically the town administrators, select board, past, present, town administrators, past, present, because this has been a long project, so. And had you not, and specifically the town for joining in a 60-40 public-private endeavor. And to that end, we have pretty much finished the project, and we have a leftover from the contingency, which we would like to share at a 60-40 split, as we had done previously with the town, say we would, that $92,145 would come back to the town specifically to go towards the bond. So, that's it. Well, thank you.
Just like that. Any questions?
Thank the taxpayers of this town for that 40%. That's what you said.
Yep, that's what I was saying.
Well, and then also thank the 60% of people that doled out their own contributions. That's pretty great too.
Hey, how many names put on that plaque? What do we want?
Forever. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak against accepting this?
We might suggest other uses.
Do we need to make a motion and accept this? Is it a gift? It's not a gift?
No, it's all right.
You don't
Essentially, it's
charge
the same, it's just following the same process that we already established for the library project. So,
You won't receive it until after July 1st.
correct, yeah. Then it'll be
Fair
applied
enough.
to the next bond payment.
Great. All right, well then, thank you so much. That's excellent. Great project. Nicely done. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody that volunteered working on it. All right, Tina. Oh, Corinne, you gonna add anything?
Well, I was just gonna, I thought it'd be fun if I told you 3 quick statistics about usage since September.
Excellent.
So, we have 5 meeting rooms that we rented out. In 2019, we rented our 1 meeting room 176 times. Since we opened in September, we've rented it well over 500 times. We've rented our new meeting rooms to outside groups. So they're just always in use. Circulation of physical items, so not our downloads and all the, ebooks and audiobooks, but people coming in and checking out an item. We've had an 8% increase over 2019. I'm using 2019 because the other years really, just and that, so our circulation so far, we still have a couple months to go to be a full year, is over 44,000 physical items in and out the door.
Wow.
And then last one is visits. So in 2019, we had 52,000 visits. So far this year, we've had 42,000 visits. And so I think that we're going to be about a 22% increase over 2019. That's kind of an average of between 5,000 and 6,000 visits every month. Very, very busy. And it's like people like it. It's thriving. So that's it. Short and sweet. Thank you very much.
Build it and they will come.
Yeah.
And then some more exciting news regarding the library. It's my understanding that fairly soon we'll get a proper crosswalk with lights and everything at the Main Street Bridge.
Yep, that is one of the last pieces of the project. That'll be coming in sometime between now and August.
The bridge.
So the completion date hasn't been set yet.
Well, it's August. It'll be
August.
done it'll be done in August. They're right on target. As to the exact day that they'll do the last doodad, I have no idea, but it will be in August.
I wasn't aware there was going to be doodads.
There always are.
Extra doodads.
Or widgets.
They were in the budget, you just didn't spot them.
Under doodads.
That's great news. Thank you, everyone. All right, Tina. Children
Okay,
Arts.
this is going to be really short and sweet also. Good evening, I'm Tina Kriebel. I'm the chair of the Children of the Arts Committee, and I just wanted to come and thank the town for all of their support for the Maze Festival and the lantern installation in December. I have 2 of the board members here who are the board members of our nonprofit. Terry Reeves and Jeannie Connolly are here also. I hope I didn't forget anyone on this list, but I'll do my best to keep it brief. So thanks to the select board for your in-kind town support that happened, it feels like 10 years ago before the pandemic and through this Maze Festival. Thanks to the administration for help with park reservations, town hall reservations, keys, and sending out the Nixle alert. Public Works and the Parks Committee for help in the last days before the festival, staking off the gardens, finding water, and confirming our electrical. The Police Department for their support throughout the day, especially for keeping our parade marchers safe. The Fire Department and the Building Inspector for help with tent inspection, food court inspection, and the Fire Department offered their misting fan when suddenly we were going to have 98-degree temperatures in the middle of May. At least it wasn't snow. Thanks to the Peterborough Town Library for hosting an event, sharing space for art, and hosting a story walk on the beautiful patio, and the Rec Department for lending us their metal trash cans so we could keep the downtown clean. Our community events are only possible with the effort of our dedicated committee that's all volunteers and the support of many others who help for an hour or a day. Businesses, donors, and volunteers work together to showcase the art of our youth, and we're grateful to be able to give it to our community as a gift again. So that's it. Thank you so much for all your support.
And thank you, Tina.
And I just want to say that Children in the Arts is one of the best run festivals that we do. You guys are great. You always have a great plan in place. You always have volunteers who know exactly what they need to do, and working with you is always goes very smoothly. So we appreciate all the effort you folks put into it every year.
Thank you.
You do a great job.
We try to make it as easy for everybody to help us as possible.
Try not to bring so many kids next time. All right, that's great. Thanks. Dori, let's hear about the sun.
I've got my notes on my computer, so this is okay to...
Whatever.
Okay, and then I can use that clicker. Can I use that chair?
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm very glad that all the others were short, because this one, unfortunately, is not really short. It could have been way longer.
It's going to last till 2050, actually.
Yeah, that's right. So...
I'll be retired by then.
At least be very tired, if not retired.
Right.
Certainly hope I am.
Okay, so as most folks in this room know, my name is Dori Drachman, and I am one of the co-coordinators of the Peterborough Renewable Energy Planning Team. Thank you very much for giving us this time to present our work that we've been doing so far. The purpose of this presentation is so that you can learn more about what we're thinking and what way before the plan is due, so that we can be making everything transparent. We can have conversations about things that there might be issues around, and so that we can all be working ultimately together. Since it's going to be the town that is responsible for implementing this plan, we wanted to start creating a process where we can work together well. So we've been obviously in very close contact with Bill, who has been our liaison and has been active on the team. We've also started quarterly meetings with Nicole and Danica, and we're due for another one. But wanted to make sure that the rest of the select board and the rest of the town knew what we were doing, and so that we could keep everybody in the loop as we move forward. The presentation today is actually just a really small sliver of this plan. And so I really hope that you will look at the draft outlines of the different parts of the plan that was in the progress report that I included in your packets, or somebody included in your packets that I wrote up. And it's also on our website, so if you're listening in, you can go to prepnh.org and see those draft outlines there as well. Okay. So PrEP has been a sprawling group of up to 20 people. We're now, oops, I am looking at my screen. So it's been up to 20 people at its height. We are at about 14 right now. We've been working since late summer, and we've got a bunch of different working groups, data to collect, data on the greenhouse gas emissions that we currently are emitting, and projecting those out, communication primarily in the form of our website and monthly column, community input and outreach in the form of prep talks, where we are asking for folks to give us their ideas about what they would like to see in the plan. And then we also did a community conversation, the first one since the pandemic. And it was, I thought, well attended, and the discussion was really, really dynamic and helpful. Research and Planning is the group that does the research about other towns' plans and recommends what goes into ours. Finance, because this is going to cost some money. Leadership, so that we can continue to herd the cats and move forward. We have estimated, and by we I mean Bob Herring-Smith, who is the other co-coordinator, has estimated that we put in 950 person hours so far. So this is a very active group and will remain active. A reminder that Peterborough committed, oops, gosh, having two things, God, who thought of this? Sure, thank you. So as a reminder, the town committed to a goal of 100% renewable energy, to achieve 100% renewable electricity by 2030 and heat and transportation by 2050, and then to develop a plan to meet these goals by the end of this year. And that is what PREP is doing. That is the task of PREP, is to create that plan. So the overarching plan for the town is called beneficial electrification. And what that says is that we want to switch our electricity sources to renewables, and then, yes, thank you, and then run our heat and transportation on that clean electricity. So that would mean transitioning to electric vehicles, electric buses, electric bikes, and then transitioning our heat sources from fossil fuels to heat pumps. As a very important part of all the sections of the plan is energy efficiency. And there are many reasons why energy efficiency is such a crucial part. The first is that it saves you money. The cheapest energy that you use, or the cheapest energy there is the energy you don't use. It's also the greenest energy there is the energy that you don't use. If we are being energy efficient, it not only helps the person who owns that building, but also everybody else, because it can help us prevent the need to turn on the dirtiest and very expensive power plants that we turn on the very high energy use days. So the hottest days in the summer, the coldest days of the winter. They're called peaker plants because of the peak load. If we can avoid turning those on because we are saving energy, it saves money for everyone. It also, energy efficiency also eases strain on the electric grid, which is definitely in a vulnerable place right now. It is, kind of a patchwork. And so we don't need to be putting as much load onto the grid if we have some good efficiency models in place. And it buys us time to update the grid so that it can handle these new energy electricity uses, meaning transportation and heat. And then not to underestimate that it makes your home more comfortable, and that is a great thing. So right now, what we have are draft, and I emphasize draft, electricity, transportation, and heating and cooling plans. Those drafts have 3 sections. They've got residential, commercial, and municipal recommendations. The focus of those recommendations are on town incentives, programs, and some policies. And so they really aim to inform and incentivize rather than mandate behavior and purchases. There are a couple of policies that we will, I'm sure, talk about, but for the most part it is really about educating and incentivizing. The next steps for the plan that we are seeing is to contract with Pale Blue Dot, which is a consultant that we have been working with that has been, as you can see on the bottom, a leading consultant for these kinds of plans. They've done many of them, 42 action plans, 50 energy action plans, and we want to actually pay them using private funds to help us complete the greenhouse gas inventory and the projections out to 2050, to convert our draft outlines into a user-friendly report that's also visually appealing, and to advise us, help us, work with us to advise how we want to organize this plan, what additional content in addition to the actual recommendations need to go into the report, and then also to advise us on a survey that we are creating, which I didn't remember to include when I was talking about community input, but that's another part of community input, is a survey that we will be getting out. And also to help us with planning public meetings that we hope to do in the fall once we have had more of these kind of stakeholder conversations, have had more conversations with Pale Blue Dot, and have a tentative plan, a preliminary plan to be discussing. So those are our next steps. Sorry. Oh, no. Why is this not moving backward? There we go. There we go. Okay. So this is just a line from the warrant article that says that it's the town that's going to be leading the community. And so what I'm going to focus on in the presentation is how the town can do this leading. And the focus will be on how to lead by example, and actually to continue to lead by example, because the town has been a real leader in municipal sustainability for a very long time, and so this really builds on that. The other way that you can lead is to help us and encourage, or assist and encourage, the rest of the town to make this transition. And then we're going to ask if you would consider a few policies. So the first way that you can continue to lead by example is to reclaim our greenest town in New Hampshire title. We had that title when we brought online the 1 megawatt array. We had more solar energy that any town in New Hampshire produced, but now we are no longer, we don't no longer have that title. Other towns have done more, and we can do more ourselves. And so we are asking that we develop a plan to get solar panels and storage for all our municipal buildings, with a goal of 100% locally generated renewable electricity. Understandably, not all of them can be right on the buildings, because the historical buildings that we have can't have those, but there are other ways to do it through community solar and other mechanisms. We also are asking the town to develop a sustainability checklist for all capital projects, so that they integrate renewables and energy efficiency into the plan. And this is, of course, relevant to the upcoming planning process for the fire department. Let's see. Other ways that we can continue to lead by example are to conduct energy audits for all of the municipal facilities. I know that the town did that several years ago. 2015. So it might be time to do some additional ones to see where our buildings are now, and then to develop a plan to do those retrofits. I know we've done some retrofitting, but there's more that the town could be doing there. And then here is actually a policy that I threw in here, and that is to make sure that there are no municipal buildings that are heated by fossil fuels, and to make that a policy. We also are recommending that we add transportation to the ways that the town can lead, and that the first one is to make a plan to achieve a full conversion of all our fleet vehicles to EVs by 2050. And that doesn't necessarily mean to wait until 2050, we're thinking more of a phased-in approach that as vehicles end their natural life cycle, that we purchase EVs as replacements. That is starting to happen with the police department. There is an ongoing conversation between Chief Gennard and the Peterborough Energy Committee to see about getting our first EV car in the police fleet. Also to install EV charging stations at all municipal buildings and in all municipal lots, like the one that is featured here from the Riverwalk parking lot. That is the first one in town, and there was a lot of excitement around that. And we ask that as you're planning those to pay particular attention to areas that will attract tourists, serve renters, and serve low-income residents who will be driving EVs one day, but might not have access to charging. So to take that into consideration. We also are asking the town to explore a couple of other possibilities like micro-transit, which is something I know Keene is exploring. They also have 100% energy goals, so it's something that might be a project that could be worked on together. Microtransit is basically kind of group Ubers, so that you can, somebody can call, a van would come pick them up, other people would also be calling that van, they get picked up, they get dropped off at various different places. It has the benefit of also helping folks who no longer can drive be able to continue to lead active lives. We also are asking if the town would explore bus service. We have in this same parking lot a beautiful bus stop, and I know that the original plan was to have bus service, I believe, to Boston. We are thinking, maybe first start with bus service to Keene and Nashua. And again, I know that Keene is interested, so that might be something that could be worked on together by the two communities. So those are the ways that we're asking the town to lead by example. And then we're also asking if you would lead by assisting and encouraging the rest of the town. We've got two big priorities here. One is to hire an energy coordinator, and the other is to establish a clean energy fund. And as you can hear from all of the other pieces that I was talking about, doing this transition is a lot of work. And the staff here is working as hard as they can doing the work that they've got now and doing a great job, but can't really add this energy work to their to-do list. And so hiring an energy coordinator we feel is really important. We are looking at various ways to fund this. Part of it could be privately funded, grant funded. We did apply for a grant at Nicole's suggestion for an earmark grant. We are looking at other places to apply for grants. We also see that it could be part of the town budget. It could also be a public-private partnership. So we're exploring all of these ways to get this position funded. One of the reasons is that this position, the person in this position, could actually save the town a lot of money. In other towns, one in particular in Vermont, the energy coordinator they hired there saved the town more money than they spent in that person's salary. So there are a lot of really important reasons to prioritize this action. The Clean Energy Fund we see as being privately funded, but to help residents and businesses be able to do the energy transition that they really want to do. We've been hearing from a lot of people that want to do this work to their homes, but don't have the means to do it. We do have some incentives from the state, but they're not particularly generous. And so we would like to be able to supplement that with local funding. We are lucky to live in a town where a lot of people are really passionate about resilience and also have means and are also very generous. So we are hoping that that will also happen. Other ways to assist and encourage are through campaigns like Solarize, Weatherize, Heat Smart, which focuses on heat pumps. Those are educational and also help to lower any kind of research and the work that is involved in trying to find a contractor, really kind of lowering all of that and helping to streamline that process, and then possibly also getting a discount for group purchasing. Also to sponsor Drive Electric Expos like we did last month at the municipal lot, where EV owners bring their cars, people who are interested in EVs come, they get to talk to folks, get their questions answered, get some myths blown, and get to sometimes even go for a test drive. And it has been shown that that is one of the primary ways that people are encouraged and to actually buy EVs. We also want to educate about the incentives that the state does have through New Hampshire Saves and federal incentives, and also to assist people with filling out those applications, because that's another hurdle. And then also to work with companies like Block Power, which is a company we've been exploring how we might want to work together, and we've mentioned this to Nicole. And they are a company that assists with financing and workforce development. They're really kind of a one-stop shop that has financial products that make sure that you don't have to have any money up front, and that your monthly payments then would be at the same level of what you're paying for now. So there wouldn't be any additional outlay, but then they also will do the energy audits. They will do the contracting work for the retrofitting. They'll even be able to do any kind of PV or a solar installation if that is something that the owner would want. But they also really want to be developing local workforce, because that's where you can really both save more money and developing good paying jobs. So that's another way that we are encouraging the town to explore. Some policies. We've got some policies that are already underway, like establishing a community power program. We've got a committee, the plan was passed, and it is moving forward. If the PUC actually does pass rules in July, it might be something that could start by the end of the year. Also, to make it easy for folks who are getting solar to navigate the permitting process, so streamlining that, clarifying that. Danica is already working with SolSmart, which is a federal program that is free, or I guess paid for with our federal tax dollars. And they help with best practices for streamlining those processes. And then to also establish a property tax exemption for solar panel installations. It is something we know that the town has been doing kind of de facto, but it hasn't been codified. And we've been asked by contractors to codify it. I mean, we're not the only town that does this. And so they've been asking towns to codify it so that it can't get changed at the last minute. So those are some of the ones that are already underway. Some new policies are about new construction, making them solar ready and EV ready, which is about making the the electricity plan in there be something where it would be easy to get solar panels and get EV charging. Another one is to establish energy labeling or an audit for buildings at the point of sale or rent so that there's transparency in for the renters and the buyers on what kind of energy costs there are associated with the building, with the hope that this would encourage the owners to do work to lowering those costs. And then this one actually came from a prep talk where we were getting input, and they were saying we wanted to put out a clothesline and we weren't allowed. And so it seems like everyone should be able to use a clothesline. And so it kind of seems like low-hanging laundry. So,
Wind and solar energy.
yes, exactly, wind and solar energy. And let's see, I know this is a lot, but to know that you really do have a lot of support, that there are at least 3 volunteer groups that are going to be interested in helping, PREP being one of them, the Peterborough Energy Committee, the Community Power Task Force, and that there is a lot of support in general in the community. So that is the end of the presentation, and there are several of us who are working on PREP in this room, and so we are happy to answer questions, get any suggestions if you've got any concerns. We really want to know about them, all of those things, so that we can be working through them together.
Oh, thank you for that thorough presentation. It's really informative. Thanks. Any questions?
I know, I'm sorry it was so long, but really?
This is the 3rd time I've heard it, so.
Excellent. Well, I do have a couple questions.
Great.
Do we have any statistics on the usage for the parking lot EV chargers?
I don't believe we have true numbers yet. We're
Not yet.
just getting our first batch of, first revenue, and.
They're on my phone, if you can wait a moment.
Yeah, so the PEC has been gathering that data.
Oh, interesting.
And-
It's been 6 months now-ish?
No.
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months, yeah, April.
Okay.
End of April, they went
Sorry, we're
online.
already into
Yeah.
summer,
2 months.
so I-
Okay, right here.
Yeah.
Oh, so
But the Peterborough Energy Committee has been following it since, they went online.
This is
got
exciting. No, we got
something
these
staked out there?
today.
Yeah.
We got these today. So revenue, $323.97. And electricity use, 1237 kilowatt hours, 133 transactions, and 40 unique users.
Great.
Cool.
That's about half of what they cost. So it's good as far as, just the first launch, and hopefully, once the word gets out that they're there, they'll start paying for themselves.
And the Energy Committee has also been working really hard to make the experience be much more user-friendly than it originally was. So I think that it'll get better and
Yeah,
better.
there were some initial hiccups with the software from the
Yeah.
understanding.
We're coming into the summer season,
Great.
visitor season, so that we'll see additional use. And you mentioned the fact that certain residents, if they buy electric vehicles, may not have the ability to actually charge them at home. Most do, but in fact, I have a neighbor on Pine Street who bought, I think, a Polestar. And he uses the Riverwalk charging stations to keep his vehicle going.
That's
So-
great.
I think I just saw an ad, I don't remember the manufacturer of the cars, but they're part of the package when you buy the cars, they're going to put the charger into your home.
Oh, that's great.
Is that, anybody else hear that? Or
I haven't heard that, but that's
Huh.
be good to
Maybe
know.
I think it was Chevy.
Is it Chevy?
Okay.
Yeah, most homeowners would have that ability, but this guy's a renter, and so
Right.
it would be up to the landlord to provide that.
So
Yeah, and-
that's interesting.
Places like Newby have a hard time because we're considered a business, and so we would incur demand charges, and
Gets crazy.
it gets, and consensus decision-making also makes it.
And then down under some policies that are underway, to establish a property tax exemption for solar panels. Yep, with the understanding that a solar panel is going to increase the value of the home.
Well, it's complicated. There's a reason why we don't currently tax them, or even, we're just starting to note them on the property record cards now. There's a lot of complications with that. The city of Manchester's run into the same thing. They also are one of the communities that doesn't recognize the panels as part of the home. We treat them more as if they're an appliance. One of the issues is that they're not permanently affixed to the home. In fact, they're not necessarily owned by the homeowner. They're often owned by a third party, and so there's the opportunity for them to be removed at some point. You know, they don't necessarily go with the home in the transaction. Also, you know, just through the years that, you know, we have been tracking them, which are very few, but, you know, even going back through sales, Mary Beth had difficulty showing that there is a value, that they bring value to the home. It's not reflected in the sales. So that's one of the reasons why we really haven't, up to this point, we started tracking them just to, you know, make absolutely sure that we're not seeing that, but they're so complicated. That's really the issue, especially when you've got those third-party agreements. It becomes very complicated.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and so I was going to ask, well, what about a geothermal home where they're, you know, that's a great.
Our don't plug that one and take it away, though.
So, right, but that does increase the value of the home.
It could, yes, absolutely could, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Or hydropower for that matter, right? Steve Walker.
There are some towns that do make an exemption that covers all kinds of renewable energy.
And we used to have that, actually. We had a blanket exemption. We ran into problems with it, and I'm trying to remember exactly what the issues were, but the town repealed them and just chose instead not to assess for them at all. It was much easier that way. Usually you don't assess for any other heating system. Why would you assess for those heating systems?
Although they're not really heating systems, they're electricity systems.
Appliances.
Right, okay.
Yeah, appliances.
I had two things I'd like to comment on that she presented. When I lived in Arizona, I had solar on my house, and it was an incentive for me. I mean, plus the tax incentive I got was great too, from the utility paying half. But they were serious about renewable energy, so they had a state law that made it so that you could not, when you're assessing homes, you can't count the value of the solar. And it was cut and dry, that's how it was, and so I don't know if that should be so difficult. I mean, maybe it is in New Hampshire, but because it's a different state.
Everything else for a little more complicated.
And the other thing I wanted to comment about, a week or so ago, I rode from here to Keene in a Tesla, which was my first ride in a all-electric car. Actually, my second one, but the first one it was a short ride, and I didn't ask questions. This time I asked questions, and I was startled to find that he could go over 300 miles with this car before it needed charging. That there was no problem finding charging stations. He showed me a map on his screen on the console where he listed all the places, told them how many chargers they had, how many were in use. And it was a real eye-opener for me, and unfortunately I did buy a new car in last June, and if I had had that ride first, I would have bought for sure I would have bought a hybrid and possibly an electric car. But so it works, that thing about having the
drive electric at close.
Yeah, show and tell, if you will. So, and then the other thing this is the third thing, but just this morning I read in the Sierra Club magazine, which I get regularly. It's pretty shocking, and people don't realize this. They have to and some of the stuff she's asking is probably dramatic, but that's what we have to do if we're going to think that we're going to get to 2030 and be okay the way things are, because we're not, and people are going to lose their lives. Island countries are going to be in trouble. all kinds of reasons. It was, I've read stuff like this before, but this one was pretty well written and scary, and it means we all have to do something, and political, be a little brave about it and step out. So, I mean, that's what I think is the reality. And I'm sure that Peterborough is the right kind of town also. We met two people at the Waterhouse the other night. One was a tourist visiting, and they just love Peterborough. And they loved it more when I told them about the solar array and the type of people we have. The other person is looking to retire in 7 years, and he's been traveling all over New England to many places, and Peterborough is now #1. So this is a great place.
Good town to
More
live
people
in.
want to come here to help us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to add that this looks daunting, but I think what we should keep in mind is that this will create all kinds of jobs. And I think that will be really important for the town, and they'll be pretty high-paying jobs.
Yes.
So maybe even the people who work those jobs would actually be able to live here. How cool would that be?
What a concept.
I just wanted to add a little follow-up on the bus
Oh, yeah.
stop. So, as I'm sure you recall, we did build the Riverwalk parking lot with that bus station turnaround because we had a commitment at the time from Greyhound that they would stop there on the Brattleboro, Keene to Boston route. Of course, then COVID happened. When COVID happened, the bus route went away. And at this point, it's looking iffy as to whether or not that route will come back anytime in the near future. Danica looked into it fairly recently, and again was kind of given that same, well, I don't know, maybe if we start to see the demand, but the city of Keene is also very interested in getting
Yes.
that route back up and running again. And so the hope is that when they do, we will be able to have them stop there and be part of that regular route again.
Excellent.
They did used to stop, many years ago, they used to stop in the parking lot at Job Lot, what is now Job Lot. So, and they picked up enough people to make it worth stopping, so I'm hoping that that will still be the case.
I think that station is also designed for tour buses.
Any bus can stop
Any
there.
bus.
Any bus can stop.
And I want to remind everyone that that was not paid by taxpayer dollars. That was a grant to build that beautiful Peterborough road.
Yeah, actually, some of it was federally funded, so they weren't property tax dollars, but they were tax dollars. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great little stop. Hopefully when the tours start coming back through again, you know, they won't be stopping in the middle of Grove Street anymore. They'll be pulling off into the parking lot.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to add anything? This is one of my favorite kind of meetings where everything's about people that volunteer and all the good. It's really, it blows my mind. This town, I know we all appreciate how great this town is, but it's because of everybody working together. 950 hours just so far, right? Not counting what you didn't calculate before you started calculating. You know, and then, you know, we're going to appoint some more people to committees, and everybody's just making this town look like it's clock.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. So thank you for the work you're doing, and will be doing, and have done. And I don't see this as daunting, Brian. I think it's very hard to do these kind of things.
So I'm not arguing about the imperative bit, but it's a lot of work.
It is, sure.
Well, and so having leadership that sees this as not as daunting, but as what needs to happen is also what makes Peterborough great. And, you know, he certainly, Bill has been a huge asset to PrEP. Being able to answer questions and...
Every meeting I attend, I get an action item.
At least one. Yeah, when Jean introduced the community conversation, my favorite part was when she was introducing me as being from PrEP, and because she's Bill's wife, she said, well, they meet a lot.
Well, thank you, Dori. Thanks for all you do.
right. Next item up, in case you joined us after the introduction, the draft Cypre petition, we're going to skip over.
We're gonna pass over that. Had a little late minute possible change of direction on that, so I will get you up to speed on that once I have a few more details.
Sounds good. And then we have, like I mentioned, we have people looking to join some committees. Is Gary here? Gary Gorski?
He's not. He's a newbie neighbor. He's probably with his twins.
So you're vouching for him?
Yes, he's great.
Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna you know everybody on these committees, so I'll make a motion to appoint Gary Gorski as an alternate member of the planning board, and Ed Juengst, Leandra MacDonald, Carl Mabbs-Zeno, James Kelly, Lindsay Dryer, Jim Hassinger, and Sarah Steinberg Keller as members of the capital improvements committee.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
We know most of these people, although I don't know Gary. Do you know Gary?
I don't know Gary, but,
I know Gary. He's great.
okay.
Yeah, he lives at Newby. He is very active in that community, and is very interested in Peterborough politics and Peterborough goings on.
Now, is he a newbie?
He has been there since he moved in, I think, just before the pandemic.
Oh, okay. So he's been in town a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
All right, and assuming he's been.
Thank you, everyone.
Appointed or.
Thank you.
That was,
Recommended by the planning board.
this came from Danica, right?
I believe so,
Yeah.
yes.
All right, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Well, actually not.
Well, as
Sure, we have a
unanimous as you're
quorum.
gonna get right now.
We have a quorum.
Yeah. 2-0. And then we had minutes from June 7th. Did you read them?
I did. I moved that we approved him.
And since I read them, I'll second that. And all those in favor? Aye. Great.
You do a fabulous job, Ally, on this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, makes it readable.
And with that, we come to close in another meeting. Thank you, everyone. Motion to adjourn.
What's our plans for the summer?
Well, my plan is to ask you if you have any vacations or anything coming up that we need to work around.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm leaving today until October.
Did you sign something?
Yeah, you and Tyler, and then I'll grab Bill later.
As of right now, we just have